You know, for the last year or two now, I have been occasionally dipping in to cover the continued downfall of Anna Kasparian of the Young Turks YouTube channel. It's sad to say, but the Young Turks used to be one of the most prominent and most reputable progressive news outlets out there. It actually embraced the internet, seemed to be more up on the times than anything else in the progressive media space, and they seem like they could possibly have great things ahead of them if they continued on the track of reporting good things, not like actual truth-based reporting, not trying to grift or get audience captured. Like, as long as they kept course with their reasonable reporting, which they did for a very, very long time, they had a very bright future ahead of them. But for some reason, despite most of what comes out of TYT, for the most part being good for many years, TYT has also produced some of the biggest right-wing grifters out there. Dave Rubin came from TYT, started out as a left-wing TYT correspondent, promoting progressive politics and everything, and then he left the left and became a conservative talk show host, basically, and now he is extremely wealthy and popular as a conservative, making way more money than he ever did at TYT, I tell you what. Same happened with, who was it, Glenn Greenwald? Was that his name? And there was a few other people as well. Hassan became a full-on tanky. But TYT has produced a weird amount of, like, right-wing grifters and people who've just crashed out and fallen off politically. It's very bizarre. But the most recent iteration of this trend, whatever gas leak or cycle of mental degradation happens the second you enter the TYT studio, the next victim in line of this effect has been Anna. She has been afflicted by the curse. So it's been a bit of a fun last year or so, as she has tried her best to justify leaving the left, quote unquote. The idea is that she, like, initially I think she claimed that she was called a birthing person instead of a woman, and it offended her. And so she started claiming that this was a regular practice among progressive people that essentially took away the womanhood of women, and tried to, like, she really tried to push this idea that that somehow hurt her. And it was very blatantly just a nothing burger that she was trying to use as justification to pivot to more conservative pro-Trump positions as a way of trying to make more money after, surprisingly, this shift really happened hardcore after Trump won the election. She seemed to take that as a sign that America is leaning much more right, and the money to be made is from the right. So she spent months and months and months, even right up until Trump took office, saying that Project 2025 is not really real, Trump's not going to go through with it, constantly sanity washing for Trump, constantly saying that Trump supporters are smart, reasonable people. Like, if I were a more naive person, I would say this was TYT trying to switch up their messaging to appeal to Trump supporters by trying to, attract them with honey instead of vinegar. But it just ends up resulting in this really embarrassing constant trend of TYT defending Trump, sanity washing for them, while saying, but he is edging on some pretty problematic behavior here, and, we need to keep an eye out for this, because, like, if he goes back on his promises, MAGA isn't going to be happy. Like, they're trying to come off as, like, yeah, MAGA, we're with you. The mainstream media, they're just, they're deranged about Trump, but we're reasonable, and we're even-keeled about him. They're really, really trying to, like, they're really trying to get them to think that they're the cool progressive media outlet, that they don't have TDS. That would be the impression I'd have if I was more naive, if I thought that TYT had not taken a blatant political turn. The fact is, though, I think that this has been a slow but steady frog-boiling process of TYT trying to give up on what they probably feel as a media company is a lost cause. Trying to become immensely profitable in any way through left-wing media is very, very, very hard. And when they could just spend a couple years investing in becoming a right-wing media company and probably quintuple their profits in a couple of years just by switching up what politics they promote. As a media company that has like company shit going on and needs to like keep employees paid and fed and lights on and a studio and rent and bills paid, it's hard not for them to pursue the right-wing grift as a company in order to preserve themselves. It's not exactly a controversial statement to say that progressive content online, even from a large company like this, is not exactly the most lucrative. And if you're going to reach a lot of people and run a company centered around messaging to people, making that lucrative is kind of important. So I feel like a lot of this is just them chasing that easy right-wing money. That's what I think it is. In fact, Sam Cedar and Emma Vigilant, who I've got... Sam Cedar less so, Emma more so. I've had problems with a few of their takes lately. I'd say that right now, of like the main old guard of progressive online figures, Kyle Kulinski is my favorite. He used to not be, but now he's quickly ballooned to my favorite. I like Kyle Kulinski the most. But Sam Cedar and Emma have not crashed out totally. They've got plenty of reasonable stuff to say. They've got plenty of good things to say. And they called out Anna because Anna has been doing this whole, how could we have ever seen this coming? Oh my god, Project 2025 turned out to be true. How could we have ever known? Because she spent months saying Project 2025 wasn't really real, Trump didn't know about it, and now it's happening, and she walked it back. Sam Cedar and Emma called her out for the fact that she always knew this was going to happen, and she's clearly bullshitting by acting surprised, and now she has made her response. This came out like yesterday. I have not seen this yet at all, but I did see the original clip that caused this, the clip of Sam Cedar and Emma calling her out. Now I'm going to be showing you the clip of her responding. I should be able to get you all caught up on the situation, but watching like every single video through the whole like back and forth is not worth it. Let's just watch the most recent and I'll catch you guys up. So here is Anna's, I think, solo response to Sam Cedar, or Anna's response to Sam Cedar and Emma. I think I might have mixed up Emma and Anna there. Anyway, let's watch.
Emma Vigeland and Sam Cedar of the Majority Report thought it would be fun to put out a more than 18-minute long video chastising.
What? Why are we calling it fun? Okay, like, dude, when people shit talk you, they do it because, like, okay, if you're a public figure, 99% of the time, if someone's shit talking you, if they have a platform, they're just trying to make their quick buck for the day. Like, genuinely. 99% of the time, like, I get called out by YouTubers that do not give a fuck. Like, they will literally, like, talk friendly with me because they genuinely don't actually care. But they want to put out, like, a hate video because it's going to get views. It's going to be a quick, like, yeah, get some money. That's, like, 99% of the times when you get called out online. Is someone's just putting something out for the day, making their quick buck online, talking about you because you're a prominent figure and it'll get clicks and views. They're not doing it because it's fun. They're doing it because it's their job to call out a prominent person saying things they politically disagree with and to explain why they politically disagree with it. It is literally their job. I promise you, it's not a fun thing. It's not a personal thing. Maybe it's a little personal in this case, but I don't know what relationship Sam, Emma, and Anna had before all this. Maybe it is personal. Who knows?
And mocking me for my willingness to admit that I was wrong, in part for downplaying the possibility of Donald Trump implementing Project 2025 upon winning the election.
What I love is this is what people like Anna want, is to be able to be repeatedly, blatantly, obviously wrong for as long as it is beneficial to be wrong. The second that they can no longer deny that they were wrong, they want to admit it, and then to get even more props for admitting they were wrong. They want everyone to say, oh, well, at least she admitted she was wrong. At least she admitted when she was wrong, but only the second it stopped being beneficial to do so. In which case she expects positive response, more positive outcome for herself, because she was so brave and admitted she was wrong this whole time. Confidently and stubbornly wrong, mind you. Aggressively wrong. She goes on the attack. She would go on the attack for the last few months when people called her naive for thinking Trump wasn't going to go through with this, or pretending to think Trump wasn't going to go through with this. Like, what does she expect? props for admitting that she was stubbornly, naively, stupidly, blatantly wrong for like a year about Trump.
People have admitted that they made a mistake.
My nose is so itchy.
All right, back on TYT. Cenk and Anna with you guys. More news.
So I just want to address something. I was wrong about Project 2025. MAGA hates Project 2025, and I thought that Donald Trump actually cared about his base because in his first term...
This is what I'm talking about from earlier, by the way. This, like, if I was naive enough to think that this was just a rhetoric switch for TYT to trying to appeal more to conservatives, I would think that this was her trying to appeal to MAGA by pretending to be the cool media company that's left-leaning but isn't deranged about Trump. That's what this feels like to me, like trying to be the pick-me left-wing media corporation.
He seemed to be swayed by his base. He seemed to listen to his base.
Wait a second. Wait. MAGA hates Project 2025?
They don't.
Where's the evidence of that?
What? What is this MAGA that they speak of?
You know what? Sam is totally right. It is he who understands the MAGA base better than anyone else.
Wait. Why is no one bringing out data? Don't we have, like, approval polling right now for Trump in the first month? Trump approval polling. Why are we arguing like weird nonsense? Just look it up, bro. Like, we can solve this in, like, 5 seconds. God, my nose is, like, actually... Like, I imagine this is how itchy my nose would be if I was, like, in space wearing a helmet. I feel like my nose would be like, yo, either suffer through the nose itch or die in the vacuum of space. Let's see. Less than 1 month into his second term in office, Donald Trump's job approval rating is at 45%, similar to his first post-inauguration reading of 47% in January. So Trump has experienced, like, little to no drop in public support so far. Certainly none among his main base, that's for sure. So no, MAGA does not like Project 2025. They're actually pretty happy with what's going on right now.
I mean, the guy goes out of his way to engage in dialogue with Trump voters. He seeks to understand where their hearts and minds are at. Here he is touting his openness to understanding people who vote differently than he does.
Damn, she is salty. Holy fuck. Oh my god. Does she know how, like, salty she looks? Like, does she know how obvious it is? Because it's, like, really obvious that she is fucking bruised over this. Damn, she's mad.
We can't take the power back without talking to Trump voters and making them realize their mistake. Well, wait.
So let's pander to them first.
Pick your battles doesn't have anything to do with talking to Trump voters.
Yeah.
Or not.
Or flattering.
I do. He's calling out the blatant sort of mischaracterization of the situation that she's built. This idea that she's just picking and choosing her battles and only attacking Trump on the strongest things to criticize him for, when in reality she's playing defense for Trump in order to gain the favor of Trump supporters. That's her nickname, Salt Dragon. I'm a former TYT viewer. Really? There's no way her old nickname was Salt Dragon, or her nickname is Salt Dragon. Really? Because I just thought, man, this lady is salty.
You've just decided to make some weird connection there. We can't take the power back without talking to Trump voters and making them realize their mistake. Actually, no, we can't. There's millions and millions of other people who need to be motivated to get into the fight.
This is true. The majority of Trump voters, even if they're unmovable and they cannot be made to not vote for Trump again, it wouldn't matter. The actual battle to be fought is the majority of Americans who don't even vote. Those are the people that need to be won over.
Is that I am coming from the Polymarket Studios?
Insulting them and lumping them all together as the worst among them doesn't help either. I don't know when we have done that with all 78 million people, but I got news for you. The percentage of those who voted for Mitt Romney, they can suck my. I don't care about any of that. Like, I don't care about any of that.
Astute analysis, there you have it. Sam Cedar, noted expert on Trump voters who he won't talk to and has no interest in understanding. Got it.
Wait. Is that what he said? Like, the conversation is about active Trump supporters, people who are still supporting Trump, and whether or not, like, they can be swayed, or whether or not it's more ideal to try to bring in people who are politically not interested, disaffected, tuned out, and get them knowledgeable about what's going on and willing to vote against the fall of their country. Because Trump supporters at this point are defending Project 2025. No matter how radical Trump gets, his base is getting bigger. Trump's base gets bigger each election. He got more votes this time than last time, and more votes last time than the last time before that. The more radical and insane he gets, the more his base grows. At a certain point, the idea that they just need to be reached with the right ideas is, and many of them can be, to be fair, but like, listen, I was a chud once, all right? I was 16-year-old chud. I got pretty right-wing before I fell out of it. Now, thankfully, I was never voting age while being a chud. Otherwise, I might have voted for Trump. But I grew out of it by the time I was like 18, 19, right? I grew out of it by the time I was an adult. A lot of these people are in their 30s, 40s, late 20s. Some of them are young, but they're crypto millionaires, or they've like, you know, they're like trust fund babies who have a large interest in backing Trump and everything. A lot of this crew is so bought into it. I mean, Trump has like near daily rallies that happen on boats all around Florida. If you go somewhere in Florida, there will be enough people with their boats with Trump flags on them that they will start a rally, like with no planning or anything, and start like doing a boat rally for Trump because they all have their Trump flags and they see each other and they get together and they start chatting it up. It's a community. It's like the Trump flag is almost like the what is it, like an upside down pineapple tattoo for swingers. It's like a subtle message to other Trump supporters, like, yo, come talk to us, come hang out, and they'll form like a little mini rally. This shit is real. I'm not joking. It is a cult of Trump. Trump is the glue that brings this group of people together, and it's a community, right? It's not just giving up on Trump. It's giving up on all the friends and community and culture that you get to be a part of when you are a conservative and you support Trump. All the memes, all the jokes, all the it's almost like being a fan of like a content house or a band where you've got all the different band members who have like their different things about them that people are into, and some people have their favorites, but most people tend to go towards the lead singer. Trump is like the lead singer. Elon is like the guitarist. Bannon is like the bass guy. Like JD Vance is on drums, and it's like all these people are fans of the Trump band, and they all have their favorite band member. They all like worship it, and for them, like even if the band did something that pissed them off, they might continue to still be a fan and be a part of it because they're there for the community. And there's a level of like emotional attachment they have to being a part of it that goes beyond logical reasoning, and there are incentives that keep them from wanting to drop this. As much as I do believe in saving conservatives from being conservative, that's not necessarily, at least these days, what I think should be my main goal. I think my main goal should be trying to inform people and reach a lot of people, and not to try to like pick me conservatives into thinking that I have anything valuable to say, because the only difference, the only thing that will change whether or not a conservative sits down and listens to what I have to say in a sincere way is themselves. If they are like a genuinely like chill person who is sincere and actually believes in things, they're more likely to just chill out. Like we've got a Trump supporter who occasionally comes in and hangs out in YouTube chat named Mikey BME. They're a Trump supporter. They voted for Trump, but they aren't a toxic troll. They aren't an asshole about it. I keep them around because I like to hear from them what their interpretation of things that Trump does are. And you can see, I don't want to bully the guy, in real time, the guy is actively reducing the severity of every single thing Trump or Elon or the people around him do, and starts immediately heaping blame onto the mainstream media and the Democrats. chill dude, but like you can see in real time, like how a lot of conservatives see these situations, and most of them are not going to be reached as easily as I think Anna is pretending they could be.
But it's worth asking why Trump would repeatedly deny supporting Project 2025 on the campaign trail. Was it to appeal?
Because as Steve Bannon said, the whole idea is they do crazy things, as many of those crazy things at once. The media focuses on hammering on one of those things. Everything else ends up falling to the wayside because the media can't focus on it. It's as Steve Bannon said, they flooded the zone. Flooding the zone. They flooded the media with too much to cover, and then most of the stuff they do gets a pass, and as long as the one big thing the media covers, if they do something to ensure that doesn't end up being as severe as the media said, then that discredits the media and people stop trusting it, right? Think like the Trump felony convictions, right? 34 felony convictions, no prison time though. Doesn't matter that he's a literal felon. Doesn't matter that it's all official. He's found guilty and convicted on those charges. He still got to go become president. He still got to run. He wasn't in cuffs behind bars in a prison cell, which means it wasn't as big of a deal as the media said it was. Media discredited. Trump, more credit given to him. More charitability to Trump, because he looks like even more of a persecuted victim now.
To libs like Sam Cedar? Or maybe it's because he knew his base doesn't support large swaths of the policy agenda laid out in the project's 900-page document. So to say that Trump...
Yeah, of course, yeah. Of course. But MAGA... Oh, hey, Mike BME. Damn, I summoned you. Damn. Did I say the summoning words? Damn. Anyway. No, but like, listen, Mikey BME, do you dislike what Project 2025 has laid out? You're not representative of every Trump supporter. Not all Trump supporters are monolith. But like, once again, I like having a person who supports Trump on call to ask the opinion on any given situation. Like, would you get mad? Like, are you mad about Project 2025? Is it something that you don't like? Or is it like, fine? Because she's trying to claim that if Trump does Project 2025, MAGA will be upset. And I'm trying to say, no, probably not. Almost certainly they wouldn't be.
Is implementing Project 2025 isn't even fully accurate because, well, there's a lot that he doesn't agree with that's in that document. And
wait, are we walking it back now? So she's walking back the initial saying she was wrong.
And said that he won't actually pursue. After getting elected, he said these things. For example, Project 2025 wants to eliminate every single tax bracket and replace it with just 2 brackets, 15.
She recognizes that we're 1 month in, right? That, like, we're 1 month in and all this shit has happened already? That, like, you can't say, oh, we're already a month in and Trump hasn't done this list of things from Project 2025, though he has done a bunch. He's not done this list of things, which means he's not doing Project 2025. It's been 1 month. It's been a single month.
15% for anyone making under $168,000 annually, and 30% for those earning more than that. If this is the first time you're hearing about it, it's because Trump hasn't mentioned it.
It is not the first time I'm hearing about it. Trump has been very loud about his, like, no one in America likes, does Anna know that, like, Americans hate taxes? Most Americans do not know where their taxes go. All it is, well, I guess the government's making me pay damn near a quarter of what I make every year into a system that I don't physically, intuitively understand where my money is going to go back to me. As far as they know, it's going to USAID, which they believe is just money being sent out of America to people not American for causes that really fundamentally, as far as they can intuitively tell, don't affect them as an American. So why should they be paying into taxes to fund something like USAID, for instance, right? Obviously, this is a massive gap in their knowledge that is replaced with misinformation like USAID is a waste of your money. We should stop it, right? instead of getting actually informed about it. But Anna is trying to say that these people are not being misinformed, I guess, like, because the problem here is a misinformation sphere, and Anna knows it. Anna is a left-wing, or was a left-wing figure. She knows. I honestly haven't looked into it. I don't even think Trump knows what it is. Project 2025 sounds like something Tim Pool and Alex Jones wrote, from what I've heard about it. Some of Trump's highest up, like, administration people wrote Project 2025, and he's already, like, taken a lot of the steps laid out in it, which a lot of them involve, like, superseding the federal government so that the Trump as president can do as much as physically possible, particularly without the input of Congress. And so, yeah. But with that said, like, for a lot of Trump supporters, I think a lot of them, the main source they would go to if they wanted to learn about this stuff would be the media. But the media has been so thoroughly discredited that, like, they wouldn't generally, like, or at least if they did, they would be probably going in very guarded, you know, against any ideas that might be brought up.
And isn't likely to pursue it. And are we going to pretend like Trump read a 900-page document? Really?
No, but, like, people very high up in his administration wrote it. Like, it literally has the logo on the cover of the organizers of the event that, like, he so frequently appears at. Like, let me bring up the cover of Project 2025. Project 2025, actually I should, oh yeah, where's the booklet? Yeah. Book. Here it is. Where's the cover with the Heritage Foundation logo on it? They not have the logo on there? Well, regardless, here's the cover of Project 2025, exposing the radical agenda, the hidden dangers of Project 2025 for everyday Americans. Okay, this is something covering it. All right. God, why can't I find the explained? Oh, here it is. There we go. Found it. See, this is, like, you've heard this a lot from Elon. Mandate for Leadership, the Conservative Promise, 2025, Project 2025. Like, this has been, like, the talking point from Elon, especially, like, a mandate from the people and everything. Like, they're doing Project 2025, to be clear. It's just, like, I don't think maybe most of MAGA doesn't know what's laid out in Project 2025, to be fair. She might have a point here, because obviously Mikey BME doesn't represent every, like, Trump voter, but, like, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of them, like, haven't read it or don't really know what it lays out and just assume Trump said he doesn't know what it is, so he doesn't know. Why should it matter? Like, it's unimportant.
He does, however, plan to extend his 2017 tax cuts for individual filers. Trump also wants to lower the corporate tax rate from 21% to 15%, which I've spoken out against repeatedly. Project 2025 also proposes cuts to Medicaid. What does Trump have to say about that?
Social Security won't be touched, other than if there's fraud or something, we're going to find it's going to be strengthened, but won't be touched. Medicare, Medicaid, none of that stuff is going to be touched.
Nothing.
You don't have to. Now, if there are illegal migrants in the system, we're going to get them out of the system and all of that fraud, but it's not going to be touched.
I mean, well, look.
I'm really, because, like, Trump will never say, like, okay, so we're going after all Social Security now. If Trump goes after all Social Security, they'll shut down the program, and Trump will say, we're eliminating the fraud. We're only eliminating the fraudulent payments. A good example of how they've been prepping for this are the lies. Trump has seriously claimed that for 360 years, there has been someone falsely claiming Social Security in America. And to be very clear, that I'm not making this up. It's one of my favorite Trump videos now, because he seems to legitimately be implying that whatever fraudster has been collecting, or fraudsters, a family, I don't even know, have been collecting Social Security, and this guy's name, have been doing it for over 300 years.
And the record topper
There is one person on Social Security who's 360 years old, which is approximately 110 years older than our country.
He talks about it, and everyone's laughing like, because it's ridiculous, right? But I don't think anyone here is recognizing how ridiculous of an idea that is. Because who was paying out Social Security to this guy 300 plus years ago? Was it King George? Of England? Social Security as a concept has been around for like 100 years. Like, I could see maybe some fuck up in the system where some guy has been getting paid payments to his bank account of Social Security every year for like, or for years now, for like over 100 years. That would make sense. Like, maybe a fuck up in the system happened, some filing paper, like, yeah, that needs to be dealt with. But like, to claim that evidence of this fraud exists such that someone has been collecting Social Security from the federal government over 100 years before, like, yeah, I think 100 years before, no, like decades before America existed, hundreds of years before Social Security existed. It's like, dog. Woke people these days. Yes, YouTube chatter, I know. Woke people these days. We can do math. How tiring for you.
Touching Medicare or Medicaid, super unpopular. And maybe Trump is just saying that publicly while behind closed doors, he's telling Republicans who are currently working on a budget.
What if Elon actually discovered vampires by accident and it just flies under the radar? That's actually a good point. I'm not gonna lie. Like, if like a Wolverine or vampire motherfucker exists, and that's what we've just found evidence of, then that'd be pretty crazy. But in all seriousness, it feels like it has to be. I don't know why are people believing that anyone's been collecting Social Security for hundreds of years longer than Social Security has existed? The chart, like, Social Security has not existed long enough for it to be reasonable to claim that anyone too old to be alive shouldn't be on Social Security, because Social Security has not been around long enough to outlive humans' max lifespan. Like, that's... Like, this logically does not... Like, how long has the Social Security program been around now? I guess, like, old people could have joined it, but security program. But you have to pay into it when you're young. Okay. Social Security program. What exact year did it start? 1935. So we're not even 100 years out right now. Granted, old people technically could have gotten in early, I guess, like really early on, and then like fraudulently been kept on, and now they would be like 200 years old or whatever. But like, Social Security, the Social Security Act has only been around less than 100 years, 90 years, which means the amount of time this program has existed for people to be receiving payouts hasn't even been the amount of time that people are pointing to as fraudulent, suspicious ages, you know? It's like, it's odd that people are falling for this idea. Like, I want it to be true. I think most people would like it to be true that a bunch of money is being wasted and we don't need to pay as much in taxes because it's not necessary. But it doesn't really seem like that's the case.
Budget that they should totally slash Medicaid, right? Well, it turns out, no, wrong. That's not what's happening. Trump had previously weighed in privately against cutting too heavily into Medicaid, telling House Republicans at a closed-door meeting earlier this month.
What are his thoughts on the Affordable Care Act, Anna? Just curious. Like, what did Trump try to do to the Affordable Care Act last term? Just curious. Just curious.
That he wants to be very careful with Medicaid. His public remarks on Hannity represented a broader and more forceful assertion of that.
A lot of his supporters are on Medicaid, by the way. Like, senior Social Security payouts and Medicaid, to be fair, are probably pretty low on the priority list, because once he does that, He's pissed off like the core of his base, like the boomers who are like receiving like disability payments, Medicaid, or Social Security payments. These are people whose internet presence drives Trump's entire like internet domination. You know, like, you know, half the people that started making a living off of tweeting pro-Trump shit and whatnot, they probably started out like on disability or taking checks from the government. You know, like a lot of these people are fucking neat losers. Asmongold, for instance, actually lived off of unemployment for years before he started succeeding on YouTube. Like, a lot of Trump's like core supporter base are people who require these payouts from the government, and live off of these payouts from the government. So we'll see how long it takes for Trump to attack these things.
Red line. Nonetheless, Trump's agenda and Project 2025 do have a great deal of overlap, especially in regard to the dismantling of the administrative state, which his base actually does like. But how could anyone be in favor of scaling back on government agencies that are full to the brim with unelected career bureaucrats who get
unelected career bureaucrats? Do you want to know why these positions are unelected? Because they're not political jobs. That the FAA employees are not political jobs that need to be elected. They're literally people hired because they, like most FAA employees, for instance, are people who served, like most pilots, for instance, they were military pilots. They got a ton of hours in, they got a ton of certification and experience, and now they fly passenger airplanes for an airline, right? A lot of FAA employees come from like the military in areas where they have experience, and then they bring it into the civilian world for these jobs. These are not like positions that need to be elected. They are positions that ought to be hired based on merit, which is that's why so many people agree with that. That's why people think DEI shouldn't exist. People think like, oh, hire only based on merit, right? There are positions that don't need to be elected. They're not political. Like the people working at the Treasury don't work a partisan job. They're just supposed to do what they're told as long as it goes within the law, the bounds of the law. That it's not a political position. She is actively playing into I don't even know what.
to create, judge, and enforce their own policies.
Zan, I think you underestimate Trump's ability to want to be loved. I think when it comes to The Wire, if he thinks it'll make people hate him more, I'd suspect he'd not do it. Fair. Do you think a lot of Trump supporters think that way, that like he's a guy who's a people pleaser, and so as long as we reward him when he does what we like, we can punish him when he does something we don't like, and that's a power we have over Trump we don't have over any other politician? That could be a way that a lot of Trump supporters see him. I guess that's what Mikey just said. I wonder if that's it. Like the acknowledgement that Trump needs the love and admiration of his supporters. And so it's an assumption that if Trump starts doing bad shit, they can withdraw that and Trump will be forced to do what they want again because he wants their support. But I don't feel like that's because like a lot of Trump supporters, not all of them, but a lot of them are like really into that shit, you know? Like I don't feel like they would have to really fuck that person over individually on a personal level for them to think, oh, I don't like Trump anymore. Like they got the merch, they got the flags, they got the bedspread, they got the picture of him up on the wall, you know? Like I feel like that goes beyond that.
Season rules. How could this be?
A scathing review of the CDC, finding the agency repeatedly botched its pandemic response and failed to meet the moment of crisis. The CDC long under fire for its guidance on masking and vaccines over the last 2 years.
This is really confusing.
There are more than 10,000 chemicals and additives allowed in food in the U.S.
Wait, are we... Okay, so for those that don't know, the CDC stuff, God, it's so... This is a great example of another, like, institution getting discredited by distruthful individuals being willing to... There's a saying that really nails this down well. A lie makes it halfway around the world before the truth has had time to put on its pants. And one of the biggest lies has been the idea that the CDC mishandled COVID. Now, the coronavirus, or I should say COVID, was a brand new threat, as like for all intents and purposes, right? Scientists understand coronaviruses, but not every single one that's going to come about. There's usually experimentation, testing, and sometimes just waiting to see what happens to know how severe it is. How do you best prevent it? How long do you need to isolate if you've been exposed to someone who's infected with it in order to become symptomatic? Is it 7 days, 14 days, a month? All those numbers were being thrown around because we didn't know anything. And science is about taking something you know nothing about, coming up with hypotheses, trying to be safer than sorry, and try to operate in the most careful way possible while you unfortunately do have to learn from making mistakes. This is fundamental to science. You have to fuck up and be wrong and make mistakes to figure things out. And a good example of this was actually the mask thing. Initially, the CDC claimed, and there are also difficult decisions that have to be made too. Like, for instance, the CDC early on did not have very strong evidence that masks, even like the cloth masks, were capable of reducing the spread or chance of catching COVID-19. It seems intuitive, like of course it would, but there are pathogens so small they can pass between microfibers, they can pass between the fibers of a cloth, and you needed special respirators in order to keep yourself from getting infected or breathing it out. There are viruses and microbes capable of that, and they didn't know if this was one of them. On top of that, we're seeing mass buyouts of these masks, and so the CDC and Fauci recommended that people not buy the masks and not use them because A, they are being bought out in mass before medical professionals can get them, and 2, we don't really know if they help that much, so people were just buying them and assuming they were safe. And so, essentially, like, we've seen that these things have been proven to not be true. Like, obviously masks help, and that was something that Fauci was wrong about. But now it's viewed as something worth discrediting. Like, fire Fauci, he lied. Fauci lied, people died, that kind of stuff. People take the basic fundamental path of science, which is you don't know everything. You have to trial and error, you have to test, you have to learn. And that requires mistakes, that requires things that if you are very unforgiving, like a lot of people seem to be towards the CDC and Fauci here, you're just like, nope, there can be no mistakes. And that sucks because part of science, which is what the CDC does, just in the realm of disease, involves mistakes. That's just how it works. Anyway, back to it.
Confusing.
There are more than 10,000 chemicals and additives allowed in food in the U.S., often in small amounts, but many have not been evaluated by the FDA in decades. The majority are safe, but some chemicals allowed here have been banned overseas after research has linked them to cancer and developmental or behavioral issues.
Is the food industry basically policing itself?
I would say yes. 45% of the FDA's overall budget now comes from the companies it's reviewing, and 65% of the FDA's budget specifically for human drug regulation comes directly from Big Pharma itself. The historic...
Wait, the FDA is testing Big Pharma products, and these companies are paying the federal government to run the tests instead of the government using tax dollars to do it, thus saving money because these drug manufacturers want their drug to be quickly and concisely, like, checked and approved by the FDA so they can start selling it. And they're willing to pay for that to be faster and more efficient, and that's bad. This is like genuine populist brain rot here. Like, did you know big pharmaceutical company paid for something? That must be bad, right? Because pharmaceutical companies, like, that's always evil. Everything they do is evil. It's like this is child brain, okay? This is child brain. I didn't realize we were all communists, like full on. All corporations are evil communists.
$2 billion payout by the U.S. Department of Agriculture to black farmers and other farmers of color who experience discrimination when applying to the USDA's farm loan programs.
The lender, who was a federal employee, who was employed by a government, spat on me. I was called the N-word from this same official.
Wait, is she trying to wokely claim that these federal agencies need to be defunded, and like deregulation needs to happen because of these random individual stories. I'm wondering what the comments look like. Is she getting called out? Left is best. The fall of TYT will be studied. TYT is such a joke now. I used to admire you guys. Now you're no better than Jimmy Dore. Jimmy Dore was the other guy. I think Glenn Greenwald, Jimmy Dore, Dave Rubin, Hassan. And these are just like a handful off the top of my head of like the people who've ended up being grifters that have come out of TYT. Well, I guess now Anna, number 5. Wait, was this supposed to be a takedown? This just confirmed Majority Report was totally based. Good job, Anna. TYT should be glad YouTube doesn't show the downvotes on a video anymore. Going after Sam will not end well for you guys. Seriously, stop. Anna, you and Chen could become the Joe and Micah of the internet. Money, money, money. Go get that money. When it falls apart, you will be done. Yeah, I think everyone realizes that now. Someone actually asked earlier, had to do with Bernie Sanders, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see if I can find it. Did anyone here watch Bernie Sanders' speech today? YouTube has only has 62,000 views on YouTube. What do you think of Bernie? He's trying to save our future, but it doesn't seem as though anyone is interested. Well, I think that's like a really good example of how sparse the opportunity for reach, and particularly like, in this case, quite relevant to the situation, profit, is online discussing left-wing politics. It's why TYT is hard pivoting to the right, because yeah, Bernie Sanders uploads a speech on YouTube and it gets 62,000 views. Like, that's nothing. That's actually, like, I get videos that do better than that on a relatively regular basis, and I am not Bernie Sanders. Okay? I should never be getting more views than Bernie Sanders. That should never be happening, right? And so it really does go to show that there's really not a lot of momentum right now on the left online. We're trying to reverse that, but frankly, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I expected things to start to flip around already. I expected to start to see the online left start to grow and see a little more momentum by now. And since it hasn't already happened, it might be years before we see anything come of it. I don't see the left getting too much more popular anytime soon. It seems like it's going to have to get really bad before people start to care. Like, really, really bad. Certainly before we see anything akin to what happened in, like, 2019 and 2020, where the left kind of had a big online cultural explosion. We saw the bread tube thing. I think we're a couple of years out from that happening again. Just based on the current, like, trend of things, seems like the left is kind of really given up at large, which is unfortunate. You got, like, the left-wing viewer base given up, and this is leading to some of the most prominent right-wing or left-wing figures flipping up and grifting to the right so they can make ends meet. It sucks. It does suck, but lefties do tend to get very defeatist and to just throw in the towel when they lose. Rarely does it motivate them more, but we'll see what happens. We'll see if the left can build something to counter the right, even as so many progressives are so demoralized and so many of our loudest voices flip over to the right to make easy money. We'll see. It's scary, Bernie fucking Sanders, and no one is seeing it. Well, Paul Burns, it is what it is. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Anyway, thank you for the recommendation, or the point, because that actually does kind of contribute to this topic. Anyway, if you enjoyed this segment, if you found it entertaining, educational, or in any way enjoyable, then please consider leaving a like and a comment. Every single thumbs up and every single comment boosts my channel and the algorithm, really helps. It means a lot for all my new uploads and all my streams. Of course, if you want to see more from me, you can subscribe and ring the bell icon to turn on all notifications so that YouTube actually tells you when I go live or upload a new video. Follow my social medias, linked down below in the description if you want to see more from me on other platforms. And of course, finally, if you want to support me directly financially, help me keep the lights on and a roof above my head here at the Xander Hall studio, then consider donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub at my website, xanderhall.com/live, or support me through YouTube, Twitch, Streamlabs, Stream Elements, Patreon, or buy some Xander Hall merch through the Streamlabs link down below in the description. With all that said, I hope to see you again in the next one, and have a good one.